Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
You are once again welcome to PENDREAM TV, the only channel that brings you the best and latest updates in politics. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like, and also share to other members to watch as well. You can equally leave a comment at the comment section after watching, or send us a voice note on our WhatsApp number, which is 0277128777. Thank you. I want you to join me listening to detailed reason from Kwasi Pratt on why Donald Trump has to increase the tariff of Ghana to 10% and other nations as well, which he said USA is falling. It's a time to show that they are falling. They are not their normal self when it comes to development and robustness in finance. Without much ado, I would like you to join me listening to what he said into detail. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And having said that, I think there's one man who's been given the task of ensuring that we accelerate exports development. So I think Mr. Guzitano, yes. He has a whole office dedicated to that, to develop the framework, an accelerated export development program, and a 24-hour economy. Yeah. Most of them are currently unstable. You're supposed to develop the framework for that. Anyway, before I come to your comments, let me first listen to Kwasi Pratt, that I'll come and read the comments that you are sharing on the discussion, the very first discussion. Mr. Pratt?
Well, to be quite honest with you, the problem that the world faces today cannot be resolved by any scheme under a 24-hour project. I mean, if you begin to look at it from that perspective, there's a clear indication that you don't understand what is happening in the world. And I would explain. You see, what is happening simply is that the United States of America is an empire in decline. That's what is happening. Simply put, the United States of America is a huge empire whose time has come. It's in decline and it's struggling for survival. Look, it is, if you go into history, such developments have led to wars. It led to the First World War. It led to the Second World War. It actually became the impetus for the transatlantic slave trade and became the impetus for colonialism. And then it became the condition which led to the craving for a new form of colonialism, which Nkrumah described as neocolonialism. That is what is happening. Okay? Now, if you take the United States of America today, it is perhaps the most indebted nation in the world. The national debt of the United States of America is grown beyond $3 trillion and is moving like a hurricane to $4 trillion. That is what the U.S. is today. Heavily indebted. Now, if you look at the United States of America today, look at the U.S. today, all of its national infrastructure is collapsing. A recent study shows that they have to redo most of their bridges. Their roads are bad. The railway system is in shambles. I mean, if you compare the railway system in the United States to the railway system in China, I mean, you would think that one is in the 20th century and one is in the 1st century. This is the reality. Today, in all the states of the United States of America, hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, cannot feed themselves. They cannot buy food and eat. They are starving. There are soup kitchens in New York, in California, even in California, which we glorify. You know, California for us is the center of the movies and so on. There are people in California who are homeless, who cannot feed themselves, and so on. The crime rate in the United States of America is rising. Its military and its equipment is becoming obsolete. You understand? So this is an empire in deep, deep crisis, and is struggling for survival, and is struggling for relevance. Now the problem we are facing is that this empire in decline, this huge empire which is in decline, has decided that its efforts to revive itself, to become relevant and so on, should be led by a president called Donald Trump, who is not friendly with logic. This is one of the main problems. The people of the United States of America have decided that their leader, to overcome this problem, should be somebody who finds thinking too difficult an exercise. That's number one. Number two, they've elected a president who, unfortunately, science means absolutely nothing to him. And what he's doing defies economic science. I'm sure that he doesn't even accept that the laws of gravity exist. There's a guy who is challenging, vaccination as well. This is a guy who is completely lost. That's the man they've elected as their president. Now, this chap, Donald Trump, comes into office, and the slogan is important. Listen to the slogan. Make America great again. Very important slogan. In that slogan is the admission that America is no longer great. In that slogan is a clear admission that America is no longer great. Now, to him, how does America become great? Donald Trump proposes that the whole world has been cheating the United States of America. That's the basis of his argument. Everybody in the world is a cheat, including Botswana. That all of us have conspired to cheat the United States of America. And therefore, the United States of America should take measures in order to force us to pay for the cheating that we have been cheating America over the last couple of centuries. And this doesn't make any sense at all. Doesn't make any sense at all. Donald Trump includes Ghana in the countries which have been cheating the United States of America. Why? If history doesn't teach us anything at all, it teaches us about the transatlantic slave trade, about how our forebears were captured as beasts of burden to work for hundreds of years without pay, leading to the accumulation which makes capitalism possible in the United States of America. Donald Trump doesn't see that. He doesn't see that at all. So if you're looking at the relationship between Ghana and the United States of America, it is Ghana which has been cheated over the years. Cheated over the years. If you're looking at the relationship between us and the United States of America, you can also not ignore the fact that Ghana today is at where it is because the United States of America made an intervention in our country. That on February 24, 1966, the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States of America overthrew the government of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The purpose of overthrowing Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was to make sure that we return to the days of slavery. It's clear. if you read the declassified documents of the Central Intelligence Agency on the overthrow of Nkrumah, it is clear. Nkrumah was overthrown, one, because he was making the African too politically conscious. That was one. He was overthrown because Ghana had embarked upon an industrialization program which was delinking our economy from the metropolitan economy. Ghana was building a self-reliant national economy, which was not in the interest of the United States of America and so on. So here again, we became victims of the United States of America and not people who were cheating the United States of America. Now, listen very carefully. The United States of America is suffering from a balance of trade deficit. You understand? It is not exporting enough. So there's a deficit. Now, how do you correct that deficit? In Donald Trump's mind, and that's a very small mind, you understand? In Donald Trump's mind, the way to correct this deficit is just to slap tariffs, taxes, on goods coming into the United States of America. And he thinks that by so doing, he'll be able to attract manufacturers from China and other places to come back to the United States of America so that the United States of America can produce more and claw back what, in his view, is a fair share of world trade. But you see, things don't work that way today. If the United States of America imposed 10,000% tariffs on the world, manufacturing is not coming back to the United States of America. It is not possible. First of all, I've already discussed the infrastructural problem that the US has. It's a major hindrance to production and industrialization. Yes, sir. But beyond that, a friend of mine was telling me about the cost of producing a Nike sneakers. Why? In China, you can actually produce a Nike sneakers for about $10 or so. That same sneakers, under the current conditions, if it's produced in the United States of America, will cost about $1,000. So where is the competition? Why? Factories in the United States of America did not move to China for fun. They moved to China because it was possible for them to produce the goods that they were producing in the United States of America at about 10% cost. That's why they moved to China. That's why they moved to Taiwan and other places and so on. So for manufacturing to return to the United States of America, there are conditions in the United States of America which need to change, not tariffs. And those conditions are not changing. Those conditions cannot be changed by the Trump administration. So that's where we are. Now, this morning, I must confess, I've been most impressed by my comrade and friend, former Deputy Minister of Trade, and currently Deputy Minority Leader. Majority Leader, sorry. Majority Leader. Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. I mean, the statement he made about our meeting with the U.S. ambassador is the truth. For all we know, this U.S. ambassador cannot even understand her own government. And I'm honest about it. This U.S. ambassador was appointed under Biden. Yeah. And there are indications that she has substantial disagreements with the Trump administration and the way she's going about things and so on. You understand? She herself is baffled by the developments in her own country. So if you go and sit with her in a meeting, what are you doing? You call, what is her name? Something Pawa, I suppose. Pawa, yeah. Huh? Yeah, you call her to a meeting and say, explain why the U.S. has imposed a 10% tariff on Ghana. She doesn't know. She has no answers. You understand? And I was shocked at the statement which was issued after the meeting. I'm sure all of you read that statement. So I'm sure you read that statement. So I read that statement and I said, where is the interest of Ghana in this statement? The statement starts by saying that, oh, we met the U.S. ambassador to ask for explanations about what's happening and so on. She explained to us that the action was not motivated by malice. Whoa. And she also explained to us that the action would not affect oil and gas. So, well, it may have implications for Agua, but we need more clarification. And so, end of statement. I don't know. And because of my criticism of this statement, my brother, for about 5 days, none of my friends in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will answer my call. But this is a genuine criticism. That meeting, what was it intended to achieve? And what did it achieve? You see, I was of the view that yes, Trump has imposed a 10% tariff on Ghana. I agree with what all the other panelists have said about what we should do in order to minimize or override the impact of the tariff. But most importantly, we need to send a signal to the bully that there's a cost to pay for bullying. And then anybody who has studied psychology would understand that the only language that the bully understands that frightens the bully is for the bully to know that there are consequences for his actions. That's the only language. And this is science. You understand? And then I hear people say that, but how can Ghana fight the US? It's a small country of 32 million people. What do you have? Ghana cannot fight the US. So let's go and beg. And so I'm sure you've all heard that. And it shocks me to the marrow. So therefore, the solution which is put forward is some bilateral negotiations with the Trump administration. You see, negotiations occur where there are two parties at the table who can give and take. When you sit around the table and only one party can give, it is not negotiation. When you sit at the table and only one party can take, it is not negotiation. That is a meeting for surrender. A meeting for surrender. The only negotiations, the only thing which can be called negotiation is where the two parties, everybody can give and everybody can take. That is what is called negotiation. So those who are saying that we are so weak, we can't bargain, we can't do anything, what they are actually telling us is that we should surrender to the bully and take the insults and humiliation from the bully. That is not what Osadifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah taught us. Osadifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah taught us how to fight and how to win and how to leverage all of our strength in order to achieve victory. And Ghana has strength. We have serious strength. One, as we sit here, Ghana is hosting the forward operating base of the Africa Command of the US Army. I mean, only last week, a friend of mine in Nigeria, who is a lawyer and so on, did an analysis of this military base. And I was so ashamed reading it. He says it's capitulation, it's surrender, it's going back to slavery and so on. And he's right. You have signed an agreement with the United States of America which says that when U.S. soldiers come to Ghana and they destroy Ghanaian property, you will not go to court. You cannot prosecute them. You will not go to court. You cannot even go to court with a civil suit to claim compensation. That's the agreement we have signed with them. You have signed an agreement with them which says that Radio Gold, if you want to use our frequencies, you pay for it. If the United States of America wants to use our frequencies, they don't pay for it. It's free. That's the agreement we have signed with them. We have signed an agreement with the United States of America, which makes a U.S. soldier, a private soldier in the U.S. Army, more privileged than the U.S. ambassador. Because the private soldier in the U.S. Army, when he's coming into this country, does not need a visa. All he needs is his ID card. He does not even need a passport. When the U.S. ambassador is coming into Ghana, she needs a passport, she needs a visa. In fact, even before she comes as ambassador, they need to send an agreement which has to be approved by the government of Ghana. That's the agreement we have signed. We have signed an agreement with the United States of America, who says that when U.S. soldiers are coming into Ghana, they don't have to go through customs examination. No customs examination, nothing. They walk into Ghana as if they are walking into their bedrooms. You have signed an agreement with the United States of America who says that when they are bringing things into our country and it is taxed military, they don't pay taxes. Not just that they are not subject to customs examination, they don't even pay taxes at all, and so on. And who says that an forward operating base is for the production of sugar or tinapa? Who says that? A forward operating base for any military is a killing factory. It's a factory for killing. You understand? Now, why is Ghana a forward operating base? Clearly, the U.S. has intentions in our sub-region, that is West Africa, has intentions for the whole of Africa, and has intentions for the world, and we are a key part of the realization of that intention. Now, it is important not just to look at this forward operating base in isolation. You see, when Bush won elections and became president of the United States of America in 2001, Bush set up what became known as the Cheney Committee. And the Cheney Committee produced the Cheney Report. Dick Cheney was the Secretary of State at the time, and they produced the Cheney Report. Now, you go to the net. I mean, these days it's very easy. Go to the net. The Cheney Report is available on the net. The Cheney Report said very clearly, very, very clearly, that the U.S. has expanding interest in West Africa. And that all supply from West Asia and so on was no longer, reliable because of the belligerence of countries like Iran and so on, okay? And that West Africa's production of energy, oil, gas mainly, was expanding. So the U.S. should shift its attention to West Africa if it has to solve its energy needs. And that the U.S., if need be, ought to use military force in order to guarantee its interest in West Africa. Read the Cheney Report. So if you are sitting down in Ghana as president or member of parliament or whatever, and they bring this defense agreement to you in parliament and you approve it, you are a traitor to the interest of Ghana. And that is why we resisted firmly this defense pact which was approved by the Akufo-Addo regime. We resisted it because of its implications for Ghana and its implications for Africa and the world. But you see, this is a strength that we have. This is a strength which goes beyond tariff. It's a strategic interest of the U.S. So it's a bargaining chip. They want to impose 10% tariffs on us, fine, but remove your military base. That's strength. That's power. No problem. 10%, take it to 50. But remove your military base and let's see how the US will react. Not just that. I mean, last year, somewhere between November and December, NATO made a request to 3 governments in West Africa. One, the government of Ghana, the government of Benin, and the government of La Côte d'Ivoire, for space to establish drone bases. Is that not strength? Tell me that that is not strength. They want to establish their drone bases here. The US had its largest drone base in the world in Niger. Is it Niger? Yes, Niger. They've been kicked out. So they have no drone base in the sub-region. They are looking for a place to establish their drone base. They've come to us. They are begging us for permission to establish a drone base. Is that not strength? Tell me that this is not strength. Now, not just that. I mean, as for our strength, Ghana, history tells us that Ghana was the torchbearer of the national liberation struggle in Africa. There's no country in Africa that you go to where Ghana is not respected because of the role it played in the liberation of that country. In fact, the largest statue of Kwame Nkrumah is not in Ghana. It's in Mali, it's in Bamako. There's nowhere that you go where their most prominent streets and so on are not named after Kwame Nkrumah. That is strength. That is strength. You understand? I was in Nairobi. Their most prominent street is named after Kwame Nkrumah. That is what is called in diplomacy soft power. But soft power sometimes is even more important than hardcore power. And we have the soft power. Okay? So Ghana's voice is huge. Ghana is able to punch above its weight. That is power. That is strength, which we can use, and so on. But importantly, we are a member of the African Union, a union of about 56 states, and so on. We have leverage there. That is strength. Beyond that, we are a member of the non-aligned movement. That is strength. We belong to many other institutions and organizations, even the UN. That is why we have a permanent mission in the UN. That is strength. That mission in the UN, if it's acting properly, organizing properly, that is strength. Imagine that in the UN General Assembly, over the last 10 years or so, Cuba has dominated. Cuba. And you know what Cuba is? An island state of 11 million people with no resources. In fact, Cuba for a large part was dependent on sugarcane. But look at the weight it has in the UN General Assembly. Anytime this question of blockade is put, you have sometimes 2 dissensions and 1 vote against. The whole world is with Cuba. That's strength, that's power. But we sit here and then, before we enter into a negotiation, we say, oh, we are too weak, we can't fight. Let them do what they want, let's go and beg, and so on. And then we invite the US ambassador, who herself knows nothing about what is happening in her country, to come and explain. Explain what? So, look, we've got, first and foremost, to realize that this is a changing world. One of the things which has compelled Donald Trump to very, very quickly backtrack is the realization by the rest of the world that the dollar can no longer continue to be the currency of preference for international trade. And since this tariff war started, that realization is catching up with everybody. So the US is in a state of panic. If the dollar no longer serves as a currency of preference for international trade, the collapse of the US empire fantastic. It will hasten. So they're quickly putting on the brakes. Because something is happening. Within the last 3 days, the US dollar has fallen, has dived. The dollar is collapsing. But you see, in all of this, I think there's something which we should not ignore. And it is not being ignored in the United States itself. Just the possibility that big business and billionaires are manipulating the world in order to benefit is also there. Before Donald Trump announced his tariff increases on what he called Liberation Day, he actually went on air and made a statement, a very profound statement, that this is the time to sell. What does that mean? What signal was that? So it is possible that out of all this confusion that the whole world is reeling under, some people have made billions of dollars from speculation. Now, who are those people who have made the billions out of speculation? Are they people who are related to Donald Trump? Are they close to Donald Trump? And if they're close to Donald Trump, does that amount to corruption? And if it amounts to corruption, what will the United States itself and its laws do about it? You see, my brother, when I was young, and that's not a very long time ago. But when I was young, we were watching television sets produced in Ghana. Akasanuma. We were listening to radio produced in Ghana. We were lighting matches produced in Kede. Our farmers were using cutlasses produced here. We, some of us, had access to vehicles made in Kumasi, Bafo, and Adom trucks, made here, and so on. When I was young, the Atomic Energy Commission in Kwabenya had a reactor. We were thinking about nuclear energy to power our plants and so on. When I was young, we were dreaming big. The Afenya Youth Leadership Training Institute was a gliding school and so on. You understand? When I was young, we were building the best roads in the world. Indeed, Ghana built its first motorway before the United States of America. You understand? When I was young, you drive on the motorway and for every kilometer there was a telephone booth, just in case there was an accident and so on. Okay? When I was young, students in the universities were having 3-course meals with dessert. They were sleeping 1 or 2 persons in a cubicle, not the 12 persons in a cubicle today. When I was young, universal access to education was a policy. When I was young, adult literacy was a national policy. When I was young, we were fighting for the unification of Africa under the banner of socialism led by Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. When I was young, every African felt proud to be associated with Ghana. Today, look at where we are. I'm ashamed. The time has come for us to rise up again, to pick up the pieces, to build that country, that vibrant country that Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah dreamt about. The time has come for us to lace our boots and develop a model country in Africa, whose sole objective is to unite with other sister and brotherly countries on the continent to build that continental union of 56 countries under the broad banner of socialism. It is possible to do, and we must do it. That is our only salvation. I read the 7-year development plan today, and I feel like crying. And you should know. Under the 7-year development plan, quite apart from the major hydroelectric projects and so on, we also had what we call the mini hydro projects. Those mini hydro projects were meant to provide water for irrigation and so on, in addition to providing electricity for our communities and so on. Those mini hydro projects were meant to be built at places which will become industrial hubs and so on. What happened to that 7-year development plan? Today, you're talking about one district, one factory. As if it's a huge innovation. Go and read the 7-year development plan and see the vision and so on. I feel sad. You see, but the sadness I feel is not the kind of sadness which will lead us to inaction. It's the kind of sadness which will wake us up, which will make us angry, which will make us hungry for achieving something for Ghana and Africa. This, as everybody else says, is a wake-up call. And if you don't wake up now, we will sleep forever. It is time to industrialize, it is time to unite, and it is time to confront the slave master. And we will confront the slave master not from a position of weakness. Those who are saying that we are weak, we are weak, we are weak, do they understand history? Listen to the history of Toussaint Louverture. Toussaint Louverture. Toussaint Louverture was a slave. He didn't go to school. He taught himself how to read and write. Toussaint Louverture liberated himself as a slave and formed a small band of armed men to liberate other slaves. Toussaint Louverture, his struggles led to the establishment of the modern state of Haiti. Haiti. It is the efforts of Toussaint Louverture which led to the creation of the state of Haiti. Haiti. It became the first black independent republic in the world. Toussaint Louverture defeated the army of Napoleon. What did he have? If he was counting his weakness as we are counting ours, what would have happened? He was a slave. He didn't have a stick. When he started, he didn't have a stick. But he had a brain. He thought, he mobilized, he organized, and created the first independent black republic of Haiti. I'm reminded of the history of a woman, Field Marshal Matumbe of Kenya. I'm sure you know about Field Marshal Matumbe of Kenya, who was a general in the Mau Mau army. What did she have? They defeated British colonialism. What is this cowardice? We are weak. Weak how?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I will do a few of your comments and then we'll conclude our discussion on this particular today, because it doesn't look like it's something that will go away. It's a war that we are caught in the middle of. Question is, how do we react? Anyway, a few comments from those of you who are watching us. This one says, Senator, why can't African countries have one common currency? Africa should think within the box. His name is, okay, he says his name is Mahama from Wa. Thank you very much for that comment. A few more comments from those of you who are watching us currently. There's this one says, I wish God could enable Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr. take a bit of his brain, dissolve it and let young Africans drink it or get it vaccinated in the same to benefit from the true African spirit in him, like Kwame Nkrumah. There's more from you. Good morning to you and your panelists. This Adam Kola, thank you very much. What 10% is that can't we move away from US like what other countries did and be free? Ghanaians need development, not to give our small money to the US. Thank you very much for the comment. And this one says, I see nothing wrong with what Donald Trump is doing. His action reminds me of Osajifo and his West. Remember how Nkrumah dealt with our cocoa issue? Truly, our economic freedom and its consolidation is what will keep us going as a nation. If they impose, what do we as a country have to also impose to free ourselves from the hooks? During Osagyefo reign, you could feel the presence of our Ghanaian craftsmen knowledge, our institution and industrial technocrat works and activities. Ghanaians could produce a simple bolt and nut of standard to be used anywhere in the world. Today, with the increase in technologies, our education has to catch up and make us free. Our education to catch up and make us free is questionable. No wonder we are struggling with farming and galamsey, because the technology to handle our own natural resources, our scientific research centers and other institutions can't help unless we import the technologies and experts. I pray that our leaders will understand the reason for Ghana's independence to start working on 3 major things left for us as a nation, which was the reason for Osagyefo overthrow. Please talk to our privatization leaders for me. Snet send that. Thank you very much for that comment. This is Kucho, who says, please, let's all help and make Ghana great again. Otherwise, people will always make programs talking without results. Ghana needs those with home science also, not always book and pen. Who turns 6 to 9? Good morning. He sent that. Please, is Monster Tires in Ghana before not a factory? Jute factory, shoe factory, glass factory, atomic energy and others in 9 years of Nkrumah's regime. Why now? Thank you very much. Many more coming in. So we must understand that thinking of an American is different from a Ghanaian. The Americans think about the national interest, but the Ghanaian thinks about personal interest. The talk shows produce nothing but begging for help. The problem this country is nothing different from what we are witnessing, which is long talk about but less action. We Ghanaians believe in talk shows instead of working. The long talk shows produce nothing but a poor economy. Thank you. And this one says, this one simply says, Romulo, who says, I love Kwesi Pratt. He's a true African. He's highly learned. Send that. Thank you for that comment. This one, I really feel and understand the disappointment of senior Comrade Pratt. If we have people like Osofo Ntim Fojo as our lawmaker who is tarnishing the image of Ghana with pastoral lies, anyway, prophecy has no evidence. Bibi sent that from Osoko. Maybe quite an interesting ride he taking that comment alone. He started and said, your prophecy has no evidence. Anyway, we have to move on to that discussion because our time is going very fast. So we'll move on to the discussion that we've had for some time now. Like I said, the last time something significant happened, the NIB was attempting to arrest him. They did not succeed. The arrangement, as we understood it, was that he was supposed to be brought to the NIB a day after. That was, I think that was yesterday at 8 a.m. But later the minority leader says, unless they go through the speaker, nothing, they will not get opportunity to just have a conversation with him on the evidence you have of the things you've suggested.
Thank you for making time with us once again. To all our cherished viewers and new viewers as well, we say God bless you for the good work you are doing and urge you to subscribe for more videos. Turn the notification bell on so that you'll be notified duly of anything that will be loaded onto the channel. Share to other friends of yours and other platforms that you belong to as well. Thank you and God bless you for doing that for us.